This is the AMYET S8, and the first thing that hit me wasn't the speedometer. It was the way it clawed up a nasty hill I usually avoid, without spinning out or begging for mercy. It pulls like a small motorcycle, and it feels planted when the road gets ugly. I'd put this bike squarely in the e-moped category. It's built for people who care more about torque, stability, and comfort than about pedaling efficiency. If your commute has serious climbs, if you ride year-round over rough pavement or gravel, or if you just want something that shrugs at headwinds, this fits. It's not trying to be a featherweight fitness bike. It's a compact, all-terrain electric machine with a bench seat and enough power to make hills a non-issue. Living with it starts with the design choices. The frame is beefy and reassuring, not decorative. The bench seat is fixed, so I don't adjust height like I would on a normal bike. That locks me into a more upright, motorcycle-style stance. For my height, the reach is comfortable and the wide bars give me a lot of leverage when the front motor is pulling. The 20x4 fat tires are the unsung heroes. They're what smooth out broken asphalt and curb cuts. And they're a big reason this thing feels so forgiving to ride. The weight is real, right around the mid-90s in pounds with the battery in. And I feel that every time I try to haul it up a flight of stairs. On the road, that weight reads as stability. Off the bike, it reads as a workout. The lighting package is actually youthful, not just decorative. The halo headlight is bright enough for dark neighborhood streets. The brake light is obvious, and the turn signals are a small but meaningful safety upgrade for riding in traffic after dark. I also appreciate the UL 2849 certification, because high-power e-bikes put a lot of trust in their electrical systems, and third-party safety validation matters. The display is basic in a good way. Clear speed, battery, trip. Plus there's a USB charging port on the phone mount that saved me more than once. Setup was painless, but I still treated it like a small vehicle, not a toy. It arrived mostly assembled. I mounted the front wheel, bars, pedals, and adjusted the fenders. I checked torque on the axle nuts and stem bolts with my own tools, centered the hydraulic calipers, and set the tire pressure to 22 psi for a balance of grip and efficiency. Plan a little time for cable tidy and brake bed in. It pays off on the first ride. I also took a minute to make sure the motor connectors were fully seated and added a dab of dielectric grease because I ride in the rain and I want those plugs to last. On the road, the controls are straightforward. There's a toggle for single or dual motor. In single, it behaves like a brisk rear-drive e-bike. In dual, it becomes all-wheel drive. The difference off the line is immediate. From a dead stop, if I roll on the throttle too aggressively, the bike surges forward with a push-pull sensation that's honestly addictive. The acceleration to 20 miles per hour is strong, and it doesn't feel strained about it. Top speed on flat ground for me sits around the low 30s, and hitting that feels stable, not sketchy. The brakes are hydraulic with a power cut, and once the pads are bedded in, I'm stopping with a controlled one-finger pull. With the suspension and fat tires working together, I'm not bracing for potholes. I just let the bike float over a lot of the imperfections that would rattle a traditional rigid frame. Where this thing earns its keep is in steep terrain and loose surfaces. I've got a hill nearby that turns single motor bikes into fans of the sidewalk. Dual motor mode on the S8 doesn't just get up it. It gets up with authority, and I keep my line without the rear tires skipping. On wet leaves and gravel, having the front motor pull minimizes that rear tire fishtail moment that makes my shoulders tense. It's not nimble in tight switchbacks. There's no hiding the mass. But when I'm carving long turns on a bike path or flowing through light trail sections, it settles in and holds a confident arc. The suspension is on the plus side. I don't feel sporty precision from it so much as comfort and control, which suits the bike's mission. Range is where expectations need to match reality. The battery is large, and it does give breathing room, but riding hard in dual motor mode eats energy. I see about 20 to 25 miles when I'm hammering it up hills and staying near top speed. In mixed use, single motor on flats, dual on climbs, and letting the assist do more work than the throttle, I can stretch into the 30s and sometimes the 40s. If I baby it in single motor on flatter routes, I can push further, but for my typical commuting and errand runs, I plan on the mid-20s to mid-30s. Voltage sag is noticeable on long climbs. The battery indicator drops under load and recovers once I'm back on level ground. Charging from low to full takes most of an evening. I plug it in after dinner and it's ready the next morning. I did run into one scary moment, an error code mid-ride that pointed to a controller communication issue. Power cycled, checked the connectors, and it cleared, but it pushed me to go over every connection and add extra weather protection. Since then, it's been solid. Brake pads are consumables on a bike this heavy and fast, so I keep a spare set in my toolbox, and I've already done one bleed to keep that crisp lever feel. The drivetrain needs more frequent attention than on a leisure bike. The torque stretches the shift cable over time, so I give the barrel adjuster a quarter turn now and then, and keep the chain lubed after wet rides. The stock plastic fenders do their job, but they rattle on washboard surfaces. I'm planning an upgrade to aluminum to quiet things down. The bars are a bit of a personal fit thing for me. After a few long rides, I wanted a slightly different sweep, so I swapped to a bar with more rise, and it transformed my wrist comfort. For a concrete scenario, here's how it behaves on my commute. It's 8 miles each way, with 2 serious climbs and a stretch of torn-up city pavement. I leave the house with the battery around 90% and a backpack that's heavier than it should be. I start in single motor to warm up through the neighborhood, then kick dual motor before the first hill. I crest with speed to spare, drop back to single for the flats, and use the twist grip sparingly when I'm near pedestrians. On the rough section, I stay seated and let the suspension do its thing. Nothing jars loose, the display stays readable, and the headlight is bright enough at dawn that oncoming drivers notice me. If I need groceries on the way home, the bike doesn't flinch at the extra weight. With a passenger, the rear pegs make it easy to carry a friend across town without bottoming out the suspension. But I expect the battery to drain faster. It's manageable, if I'm realistic. At night, the lighting stands out. The headlight pattern is wide enough for neighborhood speeds, the brake light responds cleanly, and the turn signals actually make cars give me more space. The phone mount with USB power seems trivial until navigation eats my phone battery. Then it becomes essential. The ability to flip between 1 or 2 motors without digging into menus is also a small but meaningful design choice. It lets me manage power and traction on the fly, based on terrain, not on what the bike wants to do by default. There are trade-offs here. The fixed bench seat looks cool and works for passengers, but it means pedaling efficiency takes a back seat. I can pedal along and contribute, but the bike's personality is throttle first. If I lived in a third-floor walk-up, carrying it would be a non-starter. Charging takes patience. The display is legible but basic. There's no app, no GPS lock, no advanced security beyond what I add myself. Quality control is mostly fine, though I had to tweak a few bolts and realign a rotor out of the box. Support can be hit or miss in response time based on what others report. I got quick help on a simple parts request, but I'd still rather prevent problems than rely on email chains. None of that cancels out the core strengths, but they're worth knowing before you buy. After a few hundred miles, the S8 has earned a spot in my routine because it's reliable where I need it to be and fun in a way that never gets old. I don't dread hills anymore. I don't swerve around every crack in the road. It's fast enough to cut my travel time without feeling reckless and stable enough that I relax into the ride. I've dropped it once at low speed in gravel and walked away with scuffs on the pedal and my pride, not on the frame. It's built to take some abuse, and if you keep up with basic maintenance, pads, chain lube, bolt checks, it pays you back with predictable performance. If you're an apartment dweller who has to lug a bike upstairs, or if you want a light, pedal-focused experience with adjustable fit, this isn't it. If you're after power that actually makes a difference on real hills, traction that keeps you upright on questionable surfaces, and comfort that takes the sting out of bad roads, this is the kind of e-moped that makes daily riding easier and a lot more fun. It's happiest hauling you and your stuff, rain or shine, up grades that used to slow you to a crawl. That's the real-world benefit that stuck with me. I pick routes based on where I want to go, not on what I think the bike can handle. If you found this video helpful, hit subscribe, drop your questions or your own experience with dual-motor e-bikes in the comments, and I'll do my best to follow up.